Have you ever been somewhere and felt completely invisible? That was me at our family BBQ last summer. I was setting up tables when my wife's sister made a joke that changed my life. If you disappeared tomorrow, no one would even notice. Everyone laughed, but I caught that look between my wife Claire and my brother Marcus. I'm a data analyst. I notice patterns, the late meetings, the password changes, the missing money from our accounts. Then I found the videos of them together in our bed planning my destruction. They stole from my dying mother. They forged my signature. They planned to have me declared mentally unfit so they could take everything I worked for. They thought I was invisible, forgettable. But they forgot one thing. The quiet ones see everything. I won't confront them. I won't rage. I'll calculate their downfall with perfect precision. When I'm done, the whole family will. Watch them fall. They taught me the most valuable lesson. Trust no one completely. Now I'll teach them what happens when you betray the invisible man. I arrange the plastic plates in perfect rows on the outdoor table. Blue ones, like Claire likes. Each fork lined up exactly 1 inch from each plate edge. The chairs placed at precise angles around the table. Details matter to me. They always have. "David, the ice is melting in the cooler," Claire called from the kitchen. My wife of 11 years, still beautiful in that effortless way that turned heads at corporate events. I refilled the cooler, noting the time. 2 hours until the family arrived for our annual BBQ. Every movement planned, every detail considered. That's how I approach everything. Methodically, precisely. It's what makes me good at my job analyzing data for investment firms. My brother Marcus arrived first, helping himself to a beer without asking. He slapped my back too hard, the way he always did. "Little brother, ready for another thrilling family gathering?" I didn't know it then, but that backslap wasn't brotherly affection. It was the touch of a man who had already betrayed me in ways I couldn't imagine. The yard filled with relatives by 4 o'clock, aunts, uncles, cousins, all circulating with plates of food I had carefully prepared. I moved between them, refilling drinks, clearing plates, always in motion, but somehow, never quite part of any conversation. "David, tell them about that client meeting last week," Claire suggested when I briefly joined her group. But before I could speak, she continued with her own version. I drifted away to check the grill. The golden hour arrived, casting everything in warm light. Family lounged in chairs, wine glasses glinting. Claire's sister Vanessa stood, swaying slightly, raising her glass. "To David," she announced, words slurring at the edges. "Our gracious host who keeps everything running so smoothly that if he disappeared tomorrow, no one would even notice." Laughter rippled uncomfortably. I smiled automatically. But in that fraction of a second, I caught something. A glance between Claire and Marcus. Recognition. Alarm. Something passing between them that didn't belong there. Looking back, I should have trusted that first instinct. The data point that didn't fit the pattern. After everyone left, Claire was unusually affectionate, pressing herself against me in the kitchen. "Vanessa is such a bitch when she drinks," she murmured. "You know we all value you." But patterns emerged in the following weeks that my analytical mind couldn't ignore. 3 canceled dinners with me. Password changes on our accounts. Phone. Conversations that ended when I entered rooms. "Working late again?" I asked one evening as she applied lipstick, the expensive kind she saved for client meetings. "Huge potential investor," she said without meeting my eyes. "Don't wait up." I didn't. Instead, I reviewed our financial statements, a habit from my profession. The discrepancies jumped out immediately. Large transfers disguised as routine expenses, all during my business trips. Worse, documents with my signature authorizing changes to my family trust accounts. Signatures I had never provided. The analyst in me knew confrontation without complete data was foolish. I purchased surveillance equipment while Claire was at her weekly yoga class. 3 small cameras with cloud storage. 1 in the home office, 1 in the living room, 1 in our bedroom. I told myself it was to gather evidence of financial misconduct, but deep down, I already knew. 3 days later, I sat alone in a Houston hotel room, my laptop open to the surveillance feed. Claire entered our house with Marcus, my brother. They moved from the door to kissing in the hallway to my bedroom with practiced familiarity. This wasn't their first time. What cut deeper than their passion was their conversation afterward, naked in the bed I shared with Claire. The psychological specialist confirmed it's possible, Claire said, stroking Marcus's chest. Once we establish a pattern of erratic behavior and financial mismanagement, we can have him declared incompetent. The family will support it after they see how he's been acting. And Gregory has the paperwork ready? Marcus asked. All of it. He's been managing this perfectly. When David's declared incompetent, his inheritance transfers to me as his spouse. After that, we'll have everything we need to start fresh. Marcus laughed. The best part is he's so pathetically desperate for your approval, he'll never see it coming. I had always prided myself on emotional control. Clients valued my calm analysis during financial crises, but watching my wife and brother plan my destruction, I expected rage, jealousy, heartbreak. Instead, something colder filled me. Something precise and clear. The pain was there, absolute and devastating. But alongside it rose something unexpected. Purpose. I closed the video and opened a new spreadsheet. Column A, assets. Column B, vulnerabilities. Column C, timeline. The man they thought they knew would have confronted them, raged, broken down. That man would have been predictable, manageable. But that man was a projection they had created, not who I really was. I tracked Claire's movements for the next week. While pretending nothing had changed, I noted each lie with clinical detachment. Tuesday. Working late. Actually 4 hours at Marcus's apartment. Wednesday. Lunch with Jennifer. Actually, meeting with our family lawyer, Gregory. I didn't confront her. Instead, I researched. I discovered irregularities in our joint finances dating back 18 months. I found emails between Claire and Gregory discussing contingency plans if I became difficult. I recorded phone calls where Marcus assured Claire that my portions of the family inheritance would solve all their problems. Every night I lay beside her, listening to her breathing, planning my response with the same precision I applied to financial models. No emotion, only strategy. The invisible man they had taken for granted had seen everything. Now he would show them what it meant to truly disappear. I created 2 versions of myself over the next 3 months. The first version stumbled through, life visibly unraveling. That David forgot appointments, that David stared blankly during meetings, that David occasionally snapped at casual remarks. He was the David they expected, the David they needed to see. The second David existed in encrypted files and burner phones. This David meticulously documented every meeting between Claire and Marcus. This David photographed them entering hotels together. This David recorded their conversations. This David traced financial transactions and discovered their plan wasn't even original. "Your coffee, sir," the hotel waiter said, interrupting my surveillance of the cafe across the street where Claire and Marcus sat with their heads together. I had been tracking them for weeks. Even now, looking at them through my camera lens, the pain remained, but it had crystallized into something harder, something useful. Our family lawyer Gregory emerged as their facilitator and co-conspirator. Bank records revealed he had been siphoning funds from the family trust for years, disguising transactions as estate management fees. Claire and Marcus hadn't created this scheme. They discovered it and decided to use it against me rather than expose it. I sometimes wonder if they started sleeping together before or after they found out about the money. I'll never ask. It doesn't matter. The true revelation came during my so-called business trip to Chicago. I wasn't in Chicago. I visited my mother's longtime physician instead. "Dr. Morris, I'm reviewing some family financial matters and noticed some irregularities around the time of my mother's decline," I explained, maintaining my professional tone. "Was she under unusual stress during that period?" The doctor hesitated, choosing his words carefully. Your mother mentioned concerns about missing funds from her accounts, but she said your brother and Gregory assured her everything was being handled properly. And did this stress affect her condition? I asked, my recorder running in my pocket. Stress is never beneficial for cardiac patients, he said finally. Your mother's heart attack might have happened regardless, but anxiety certainly didn't help her condition. They had stolen from my dying mother. They had lied to her face while stealing her money. They had hastened her death with their greed. My resolve crystallized in that moment. This wasn't merely about infidelity or theft. This was about justice. When I returned home, I accelerated my performance of deterioration. I left browser windows open showing searches for mental health conditions. I appeared disoriented during family dinners. I bounced a check to Claire's favorite charity, ensuring her social circle would hear about it. Claire played her part perfectly. Honey, are you feeling all right? That's the third appointment. You've missed this month. I rubbed my eyes, feigning confusion. Really? I could have sworn that was next week. She exchanged worried glances with my cousin Janet at Sunday dinner. I pretended not to notice. I excused myself repeatedly, returning, each time slightly more disheveled. Watching myself in the mirror as I deliberately misbuttons my shirt, I barely recognized the man staring back at me. But then neither did they. They never had. The intervention came exactly when I predicted. Family gathered in our living room, faces arranged in masks of concern. Claire had placed tissue boxes strategically around the room. David, we're worried about you, my aunt began. You haven't been yourself lately. The missed appointments? The financial mistakes, Marcus added, his false concern perfectly calibrated. This isn't like you, brother. One by one, they expressed their concerns, suggested therapy, medication, even temporary financial guardianship, just until you're better. I accepted their concern with apparent gratitude and resignation. Maybe you're right, I told them, eyes downcast. I haven't felt like myself. Lately. That night, Claire sat on the edge of our bed, stroking my hair. The doctors at Oakwood are the best, she soothed. It's just for evaluation, a few weeks at most. Oakwood? I asked, allowing my voice to tremble. It's more like a resort than a hospital, she assured me. Everyone agrees it's for the best. Everyone? I asked quietly. The whole family supports you getting help, she said. Even Marcus has offered to handle your work responsibilities while you're away. I nodded, allowing a single tear to fall. If you think it will help. What Claire didn't know, couldn't know, was that I had already secured significant portions of my inheritance. New accounts created with biometric verification that would be impossible to access without my physical presence. Offshore holdings that didn't appear on any financial statement Gregory could access. The man they thought they knew would never have been so thorough. But then, they never knew me at all. The following morning, I voluntarily checked into Oakwood Behavioral Health Center. I brought a small bag and a hidden flash drive containing everything I had discovered. Claire hugged me goodbye, her relief barely concealed beneath her concerned expression. We're going to get through this, she whispered. I'll visit as often as they allow. I almost admired her performance. Almost. What Claire and Marcus didn't know was that Oakwood wasn't just any facility. It was where financial institutions sent executives for exhaustion when they were actually cooperating with federal investigations. I had chosen it very specifically. On my third day during a garden walk, I met Angela Reeves, supposedly another patient recovering from workplace burnout. Her questions about my situation were too precise, too knowledgeable. You're not actually having a breakdown, are you? She asked when we had positioned ourselves away from the surveillance cameras. No more than you're actually an exhausted marketing executive, I replied. Angela studied me, her assessment professional rather than personal. Most people in your situation fall apart. They rage, they break down, they seek immediate revenge. I'm not most people, I said, watching a butterfly land on a nearby flower. And immediate revenge is far less satisfying than justice served cold. A slight smile crossed her face. Tell me everything. And I did. I showed her the financial records, the surveillance, the recordings, the falsified documents. With each piece of evidence, her professional interest grew. You've built quite a case, she said finally. What exactly do you want? Justice, I replied. Complete and irrefutable. She nodded. I think we can work together on that. For the first time in months, I felt something close to satisfaction. The man they tried to erase was about to become very, very visible. I walked out of Oakwood 4 weeks later with my treatment plan, medication regimen, and a fragile demeanor that hid my strengthened resolve. Claire waited in the parking lot, sunglasses concealing her eyes but not her triumphant smile. You look better already, she said, hugging me with rehearsed tenderness. I patted her back weakly. They said I need to take things slowly, focus on healing. She drove me home, filling the car with cheerful chatter about nothing important. I nodded at appropriate intervals, playing my role perfectly. The weak husband, the broken man, the prey. Little did she know she was now the one being hunted. The family gathered that weekend to welcome me home. I shuffled into our living room with calculated uncertainty. My eyes darted nervously. My hands trembled slightly when I reached for my water glass. The doctors say I need to focus on healing, not finances or work stress, I told them, my voice deliberately small. I think it's best if I step back from everything for a while. Claire exchanged a triumphant glance with Marcus. We've prepared all the paperwork. You just need to sign. Of course, I agreed meekly. Whatever you think is best. I sometimes wonder if they would have recognized the inconsistencies in my signature if they hadn't been so eager to believe their plan was working. The minor variations I had practiced for weeks. The technical flaws that Angela had helped me identify. Flaws that would become crucial later. We'll take care of everything, Marcus assured me, patting my shoulder. You just focus on getting better. With me apparently compliant and diminished, Claire and Marcus grew careless. They spoke more openly on phones I had compromised. They accessed accounts using devices infected with monitoring software. They celebrated prematurely, unaware that every action fed my case. He's completely checked out, Claire told Marcus, on a call I recorded. The doctor has him on 3 different medications. Gregory says we can move the final transfers next week, Marcus replied. Once that's done, we're in the clear. I sat in my home office, listening to them plan my financial execution, and felt nothing but cold determination. The man they thought I was would have been devastated all over again. But that man never existed. My first counterattack was subtle. I arranged for Marcus to discover financial records suggesting Claire had been skimming from their joint conspiracy. A bank statement left carelessly visible on my laptop. A misfiled document showing unexplained transfers. The seeds of doubt took root quickly. We had an agreement, Marcus hissed at Claire on the phone 3 days later. Everything goes into the shared account until we're clear. I don't know what you're talking about, Claire responded, genuine confusion in her voice. Simultaneously, Claire received an envelope with no return address. Inside were photographs of Marcus meeting with another woman. The woman was actually Angela, staged for maximum impact. The photographs were taken at Marcus's favorite restaurant in a private booth where he thought he was safe. I watched their alliance begin to fracture with clinical satisfaction. Their arguments became frequent. Their coordination sloppy. Gregory noticed their discord and grew nervous, beginning to create his own exit strategy that I monitored with interest. Looking back, I marvel at how easy it was to turn them against each other. Their partnership was built on betrayal. Betrayal was the only language they truly understood. Meanwhile, I reached out to Vanessa under the guise of needing family support during my recovery. We met for lunch at a quiet cafe where I carefully steered our conversation. Claire seems so dedicated to helping you through this, Vanessa said, stirring her coffee without meeting my eyes. She's been very supportive, I agreed. I'm lucky to have her. Vanessa's knuckles whitened around her spoon. Yes. Lucky. Over Several meetings, I extracted her true feelings about her sister. The resentments, the suspicions, the knowledge she had been carrying. I found messages on her phone the week before the barbecue, she finally admitted, between her and Marcus. That's why I made that awful joke. I thought shocking you might wake you up. You were trying to help in your own way, I said, reaching for her hand. Her fingers tightened around mine. Instead, I played right into their hands. I'm so sorry, David. I squeezed her hand. Don't be. Everything happens for a reason. As autumn painted the trees with fire, I suggested hosting another family barbecue. A way to thank everyone for their support during my difficult time. Claire resisted initially. Are you sure you're up for that kind of stress? I need to show everyone I'm improving, I insisted with calculated eagerness. Please, Claire, it would mean a lot. She relented, seeing it as an opportunity to showcase their control over me, the perfect venue to announce the final transfer of assets scheduled for the following week. They never suspected I had been systematically feeding information to financial authorities through Angela's connections. The evidence compiled over months, the recordings, the falsified documents, the money trail leading back to my mother's accounts. 2 days before the barbecue, Gregory received an official letter inquiring about irregularities in the handling of several estates, including my mother's. His panic was immediate and visceral. I intercepted his call to Marcus through my monitoring software. We need to meet. Now, he demanded. Their emergency meeting revealed everything I needed for the final act. Their crimes, their contingency plans, their growing distrust of each other. If this goes south, I had no knowledge of any impropriety, Gregory insisted. I'll testify that you directed all the transfers. You'll keep your mouth shut if you know what's good for you. Marcus threatened. Is that a threat? Gregory asked incredulously. After everything I've done for you? The night before the barbecue, I made final preparations. Secure digital packages sent to key family members set to automatically open during the event. Each contained selected evidence tailored to its recipient. Financial crimes for the business-minded cousin. Emotional betrayal for the sentimental aunt. My mother's medical records for her loyal brother. I stood in the kitchen preparing marinade for the meat, feeling Claire's arms wrap around me from behind. You're doing so much better, she murmured, kissing my neck. I'm proud of you. I turned in her embrace, meeting her eyes with the gentlest smile. I couldn't have done it without you. For once, I meant every word. I fired up the grill as guests began arriving for the autumn barbecue. The day couldn't have been more perfect. Golden leaves, blue sky, the scent of applewood smoke drifting across the yard. My hands moved with practiced precision, arranging coals, adjusting vents. Everything in its place, everything under control. Need any help? Marcus asked, approaching with 2 beers. He handed me one with a brotherly smile. I've got it, I replied, accepting the beer without drinking it. Thanks, though. His confidence was absolute. In his mind, I was already defeated, a signature away from being erased completely. If only he knew what was coming. Claire circulated among the guests, the perfect hostess. She touched my arm as she passed. Don't overdo it, honey, she cautioned loudly enough for others to hear. Remember what the doctor said about stress. I nodded meekly. I'll be careful. Gregory arrived last, his silver Audi pulling into our driveway with unnecessary speed. I greeted him at the door, noting his pallor, the sweat beading his upper lip despite the cool autumn air. Rough week? I asked innocently. Just paperwork, he muttered, avoiding my eyes. Nothing worth discussing today. I handed him a specially prepared whiskey, double strength. You look like you could use this. He drank it in 3 gulps. I poured him another. The meal progressed with mechanical pleasantness. I served the food, filled drinks, laughed at appropriate moments. Everyone commented on how much better I seemed. The fresh air is doing me good, I told my concerned aunt. And the medication helps with the anxiety. I was the perfect convalescent, fragile but improving, grateful for their support, completely unthreatening. As dessert concluded, Claire tapped her glass with a spoon. All eyes turned to her. "We have an announcement," she began, her hand finding my shoulder in a practiced gesture of support. "As you know, David has been on a difficult journey these past months." I nodded on cue, eyes downcast in apparent submission. "We've decided that for David's continued well-being, he'll be stepping back permanently from the stresses of financial management. Marcus and I will be assuming full responsibility for the family assets moving forward." Murmurs of approval rippled through the gathering. Such a devoted wife. Such a supportive brother. "We've prepared the final documents," Claire continued, unable to fully suppress the triumphant gleam in her eyes, "which David has agreed to sign today, in front of all of you, his supportive family." She retrieved an envelope from her bag, removing the papers with a flourish. "David, would you like to say anything before we make this official?" I sometimes wonder if she saw it coming. That moment when her perfect plan began to unravel, the shift in my posture perhaps, the straightening of my spine, the clarity that suddenly sharpened my eyes. "Actually, yes." I set the documents aside, unopened. "I've prepared something special for everyone." I withdrew a small remote control from my pocket. A presentation. With a click, the outdoor speakers switched from ambient music to a different audio feed. Claire and Marcus's voices filled the air discussing their affair in intimate detail, mocking my trust, detailing their plans to strip me of my inheritance. What the hell is this? Marcus lunged for the remote. I stepped away easily. The truth. The patio doors opened to reveal the large-screen TVs inside, all activated simultaneously. Financial records, falsified documents, video footage of Claire and Marcus in their conspiracies, their meeting with Gregory from 2 days prior, their panic about potential investigation explicit. "Turn it off," Claire hissed, her perfectly composed facade cracking completely. "I can't," I replied calmly. Truth has a way of demanding to be heard. Cars appeared in the driveway, not police but representatives from the Financial Crimes Unit, the State Bar Association Ethics Committee, and the Elder Abuse Prevention Task Force. Angela emerged from one vehicle, professionally dressed with credentials displayed. "Claire and Marcus Hudson, Gregory Pearson," she announced formally. "We'd like to ask you some questions regarding financial irregularities involving the estates of several clients, including Elizabeth Hudson." Marcus made a desperate break for his car, but found it blocked. Claire turned to me, her composure shattered, her eyes wild with panic and rage. "You couldn't have done this," she hissed. "You were broken. We made sure of it." I studied her face, searching for any trace of the woman I had once loved. There was nothing there I recognized. "No," I corrected her calmly. "You assumed I was broken because that's what I needed you to see. The man who could be so easily destroyed never really existed." As authorities separated the 3 conspirators for questioning, I addressed the stunned family. "I apologize for the dramatic revelation, but it seemed fitting given how thoroughly I was deceived. Everything you've seen today is authenticated and has already been provided to the relevant authorities." I turned to my uncle, my mother's brother. "They contributed to your sister's stress in her final months by secretly draining her accounts. The records are all there." The family erupted in questions and accusations. I let the chaos swell around me, a calm center in the storm I had created. Vanessa approached, eyes wide with vindication and remorse. "All this time," she began, "you tried to warn me," I acknowledged. "At the barbecue, you knew something wasn't right." Vanessa nodded. "Not everything, but enough to worry. I should have been direct instead of making that horrible joke." "The joke was a catalyst," I said. "In its own way, it saved me. I had spent months planning this moment, calculated every variable, anticipated every reaction, but nothing had prepared me for the vindication that now flowed through me, clean and sharp as winter air." Claire broke away from the officer interviewing her for one final confrontation. Her face cycled through emotions with theatrical range. Rage, calculation, desperation, finally settling on pleading as she reached for my hand. "David, please," she begged. "Whatever you think happened, we can work through this. 11 years of marriage means something. I do love you, in my way." For the briefest moment, I felt the ghost of the man I had been, the man who had loved her, who had believed in us, who had trusted completely. Then I looked into her eyes and saw nothing but calculation. Even now, she was performing, still believing she could manipulate me if she found the right approach. "If you disappeared tomorrow," I said evenly, "no one would even notice." Her face crumpled as she was led away. Only then did I allow myself a single deep breath, the first unburdened one I'd taken in nearly a year. Angela approached with professional respect that didn't quite mask personal interest. "Impressive execution," she noted. "We've been building this case for 2 years, but your evidence was the linchpin." "What happens now?" I asked. "Depositions, testimonies, probably trials. They'll face federal charges for financial crimes, possible elder abuse charges regarding your mother. The Bar Association will handle Gregory separately." She hesitated. "It's going to be a long process." I looked around at my shattered family gathering, the half-eaten food, the stunned relatives trying to process what they had witnessed. "That's all right," I said quietly. "I've developed quite a capacity for patience." In that moment, amid the wreckage of my former life, I felt truly visible for the first time, seen for who I really was. Not the quiet husband, not the reliable brother, not the invisible man they had dismissed so easily. They had tried to erase me. Instead, they had revealed me. Spring blooms across my new property 6 months later, a mid-century modern home overlooking the city, clean lines, open spaces. Nothing like the traditional suburban house I shared with Claire. Nothing to remind me of her. I adjust a chair on the deck by exactly 2 inches. Old habits remain, but now they serve only me. The legal proceedings advanced with satisfying certainty. Claire, Marcus, and Gregory all accepted plea deals rather than face the overwhelming evidence against them. Their professional lives destroyed, their reputations ruined, their freedom curtailed. I recall visiting the courthouse for Claire's sentencing. She didn't see me sitting in the back row. I wanted to witness the moment the judge pronounced her fate. 7 years. Not enough for what she did to my mother, to me. But something. The family trust has been restructured, my portion secured and expanded through careful management. The data analyst finally analyzing his own assets, optimizing his own future. I check my watch. 2 hours until guests arrive. Every detail planned. Menu selected for maximum impact. Music programmed to evolve with the afternoon's mood. Weather forecast verified 3 times. The caterers arrive precisely on time. I direct them with quiet authority. The man they meet isn't the invisible David from last year's barbecue. This David commands respect without raising his voice. Family members begin arriving at 3. Only those who were innocent of involvement. Those who expressed genuine shock at the revelations. Those who reached out afterward not with pity, but with respect. Vanessa arrives with her children. She hugs me without reservation. "The place is stunning," she says, surveying the modern architecture. "Fresh start." Completely fresh, I agree. I've emerged not as a victim seeking sympathy, but as a calculated, force-commanding respect. Family members who witnessed my unveiling now approach with cautious deference. Some have distanced themselves, uncomfortable with the cold precision I revealed. Others have drawn closer, appreciating my commitment to justice. I sometimes wonder which reaction says more about them, about what they might be hiding. "You've changed," my cousin remarks, accepting a drink. "Not changed," I correct her. Revealed. Angela arrives last, exactly as I anticipated. Always professional, even in casual settings. Her presence in my life has evolved beyond our initial connection. Not quite romance, not merely friendship. Something built on mutual respect and understanding of darkness. I watch my guests mingle from a slight distance. The analytical part of me notes the dynamics. Who gravitates toward whom? Who avoids certain topics? Who drinks too quickly? Data points. Always data points. When I was younger, I used my observation skills to try to belong, to fit myself into spaces where I wasn't wanted. Now I use them to protect what's mine. Looking back, I can see how Claire mistook my quietness for weakness, my attention to detail for subservience, my loyalty for blindness. Fatal miscalculations. Vanessa approaches with 2 drinks, handing me one. Quite different from last year's barbecue, she observes. In every possible way. I agree. Clinking. Glasses. Claire's mother visited her last week, Vanessa mentions carefully. Said she's finding God in prison. My expression remains neutral. Convenient timing for spiritual awakening. Marcus apparently blames her for everything, refuses to see her. Vanessa studies me. Does any of this give you satisfaction? I consider the question seriously. Not satisfaction exactly, vindication perhaps, confirmation that my judgment wasn't flawed. And us? Vanessa gestures to the gathering. Do you trust any of us? Before I can answer, Angela joins us, professional as always, but with a softness reserved for me. Sorry to interrupt, your neighbor just stopped by. There's a delivery for you. I excuse myself. In the front hallway, a courier waits with a certified letter. I sign for it, recognizing the return address as the Women's Correctional Facility, where Claire is serving her sentence. I carry the unopened letter to my office away from the celebration. The envelope sits heavy in my hand, Claire's handwriting on the front, her presence still capable of creating ripples in my carefully ordered world. For a long moment I stare at it. I allow myself to acknowledge what once was, the life we shared, the future we planned, the trust I gave completely. Then, without reading its contents, I hold the letter over the small fireplace and watch as the flame catches, reducing her words to ash. Angela appears in the doorway, observing the scene. Everything okay? Yes, I say definitively, dusting off my hands. Just closing a chapter. We rejoin the gathering. I raise a toast. To clear. Vision and new beginnings. Glasses clink. Conversation resumes. I've created something valuable from devastation. Not just financial security, but a carefully curated circle of relationships built on clearer understanding. Later, after guests have departed, Angela and I linger on the deck, watching city lights emerge against the darkening sky. You've rebuilt remarkably well, she observes, her hand finding mine. With valuable help, I acknowledge, squeezing her fingers gently. Do you still think about them? About what they did? Less each day, I admit. But I'll never forget the lesson. The lesson that transformed me, that revealed my true self, that taught me the value of vigilance. As Angela moves inside to answer a phone call, I remain at the railing, surveying the life I've reconstructed. My expression is peaceful, satisfied. But there's something else there too, something only I know. In my home office, behind a painting of geometric precision, is a sleek, concealed safe with a digital lock. Inside, meticulously organized, are files. Not just on Claire, Marcus, and Gregory, but on everyone in my new circle. Angela, Vanessa, every colleague, every friend, financial records, personal histories, potential vulnerabilities. Everything I would need to protect myself should history attempt to repeat itself. Claire taught me that love without vigilance is just vulnerability. Trust is a calculated risk, not a surrender. I'll never again be the man who could disappear without notice. I am seen now. I am known, and I see everything in return.